Okay, so where is the grand evidence for evolution? We've been disappointed in space, disappointed in the laboratory, disappointed with the mathematicians, disappointed when it comes to the development of the pathways for diversity in life forms. The theory of evolution has been held tenaciously by people, will be held tenaciously by many of the unbelievers to whom you speak. But if you'll stop and do an internal critique of it, all the evidence points away from it, does not support it. And yet this is a reigning dogma in the scientific field. Listen to Julian Huxley, 1959. The evolution of life is no longer a theory, it is a fact. Dedicated evolutionists are very intolerant people, certainly as intolerant as religious fundamentalists. Those who question their sacred cow are coincidentally blocked from graduate school admission and success in graduate school. I can tell you story after story of just the few graduate students I know. Those who question their sacred cow are not invited to present papers at their colloquiums. Their books are not reviewed. They're not hired at the university. Is that all by accident? Scientific evidence contrary to evolution may not be taught, nor may alternative theories be presented in most public schools in America today. I was slated to be one of the quote-unquote expert witnesses in the Louisiana case of equal treatment. It never finally got adjudicated. The judge just said you cannot teach alternative theories. That would be religious in motivation. In 1981, the British Natural History Museum presented an exhibit on Darwin's theory, and it labeled it, in part of the text, one possible explanation. It admitted that the concept of natural selection, quote, is not strictly scientific since it hasn't been empirically demonstrated. And just those two expressions, one possible explanation that is not strictly scientific, that caused sufficient anger and political pressure that the museum had to remove any acknowledgement of problems in Darwinianism. So much for the myth of neutrality. So much for the myth of the autonomous man following the evidence wherever it goes. Philip Johnson writes in his book Darwin on Trial, 1991, "What first drew my attention to the question was the way the rules of argument seemed to be structured to make it impossible to question whether evolution is really true."